let's walk through it here. So a play happens in like 1 o'clock Eastern window of games on a Sunday. So it's one of, let's say, 10. And there's a flag on the play for pass interference. And now it's week 1, and here comes your first challenge in the history of the National Football League for pass interference. What happens at that point in time?
Do you think it's going to take that long for this to happen? It might happen in the Hall of Fame game.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just say, okay. So it might happen in the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah.
What happens then if something like that happens? Let's walk our listeners and viewers through all this.
Well, Rich, people think it's a new rule. It's not a new rule. Pass interference will be officiated the same way it has been on the field for the last many years. Mm-hmm. That has not changed. What has changed is now that pass interference is now a reviewable aspect of the play. Just like complete, incomplete, a player stepping out of bounds, things like that. So again, the rule hasn't changed. This has just been added as a reviewable aspect of the play. So when that situation occurs, like any other replay, I put on the headset, we take a look at it, we confer with the replay official and the referee, and then we come to a decision. And yes, at the end, it's our decision in New York, but we do consult with both the replay official and the referee, and then within 60 seconds, we make a decision, yay or nay, and we play football.
And what are you looking for? Again, there's a couple of bullet points that need to, or boxes that need to be checked in order to maintain the call as stands, or confirm the call as stands,
right,
or put one on the field if there's actually now a challenge to say that should have been pass interference and there wasn't a flag for it, which is that's definitely new, as we all know. So what happens? Walk everybody through what needs to be seen.
Let's go to the replay process. And this is the same as it has been for any reviewable aspect of the play before. So we start with the premise, whether you agree or not, that the ruling on the field is correct. That's number one. That's where we start. Number two, is there clear and obvious visual evidence that the ruling on the field can be reversed, that it's incorrect? Clear and obvious, that's huge. I know there's been many other words used, but it's clear and obvious, and that's part of the review process. And then if there is, then we reverse the call. But if there is not clear and obvious, and if I had a nickel for every time I said that, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Right.
I'd be in the Bahamas someplace.
Right.
So clear and obvious, visual evidence. Through our network partners, we are only privy to what they have on TV. So 1 o'clock game. 1 o'clock game, you have anywhere from 8 to 10, 12 cameras. Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night, 24, 30, 32. So again, we're only privy, and we live and die with what TV gives us, our network partners give us.
So when you go
clear and obvious.
So let's take this a couple at a time here. Al Riveron, head of NFL refs here on the Rich Eisen Show. So if you're going to this Fox Media Symposium, the Fox Sports Symposium, same thing when you do at the NFL Network, and obviously Fox does are the ones who present the Thursday night football games that are also on NFL Network. Do you go, when you go to Fox, when you go to NBC and CBS, ESPN, do you go and find the producers that sit in the truck and say, hey, when there's a play like this for pass interference, I need your replays up on the screen right away, especially knowing that some other teams are going to try and quick snap. Do you express that specifically to broadcast teams?
Yes. We elaborate on that, and we say we're only as good as you make us. They have to give us that information as quickly as possible. Also in New York, Rich, I will pick up the phone, or someone in our Art McNally Game Day Central will pick up the phone and say, hey, dump the bucket. What does that mean? Give us everything you have on this play.
So you're calling the truck.
Oh yes, there are times when we pick up the phone and call a truck.
And you're speaking to the head producer in a television truck. As the head of NFL refs, you are direct communication with them?
Whoever answers the phone. It might not be the producer at the time, but whoever answers the phone.
Okay, and so the clear and obvious part, isn't that subjective though, Al? When it all comes down to it, that your view of what clear and obvious might be different from a replay official in the stadium's version of clear and obvious. Like what will constitute clear and obvious?
So here's where we are. Clear and obvious came about, again, because we go back to instant replay and what the rule is. And the rule is clear and obvious. Now, we've taken, as Dan Quinn said earlier, by the way, kudos to Dan for setting me up and making it so easy today.
Okay.
Dan, thank you very much, DQ. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So clear and obvious. We did our tour, for the lack of a better term, where we visited 31 of 32 clubs this year. And we put on a demonstration just like a little bit more elaborate than when we went to the seminar.
Okay.
And we got their opinion.
That's pretty elaborate what you gave us,
It
too.
is.
Okay.
We got their opinion, we got their feedback, and we came to a standard. And again, that standard of clear and obvious was set through a lot of work, a lot of people saying, here's what I think, here's what I don't like, here's what I like. Presidents, general managers, owners, head coaches, players, officials, legends. Everybody had a say in how we got to that standard. It wasn't me sitting up one day and say, here's clear and standard. Here's clear and obvious. No, the standard was set through listening through a lot more people, a lot more intelligent than I am, and saying, here's where we want to go with this. The competition committee, we saw thousands of plays, and that's how we started the show. We saw thousands of plays, and then we went on tour through every single NFL club, and we got their opinion, their concerns, their buy-in to be able to come up with a standard where we are today.
Well, here, Al Riveron, head of NFL refs. So then, again, and getting it consistent from stadium to stadium, game to game, official to official. How do you do that? I mean, because, again, when you came and showed all these plays to the NFL media group, and you put it on us to give us an idea of what's going to go on for you and your team and your crew in the crucible of a 60-second snapshot of an NFL game that the rest of the country's watching, we could not come to a consensus of what's clear and obvious. You confident that you and your crew will have that consensus this fall?
Yes, Rich. And remember, it's not the officials on the field, because I go back to saying the way we rule on pass interference has not changed over the last few years. We're talking about 17 individuals in a booth who have been extensively trained and will continue to be trained. And now when there is a flag on the ground, remember, it goes back to New York. So there's a couple of us, Russell York, our vice president for instant replay, and myself, who ultimately will look at the process, speak to the replay official and the referee, and then come to a decision. So it's not 121 or 122. It boils down to 17 who send it to us in New York, and ultimately it's one of us two in New York who, after collaborating with the referee and the replay official, come to a decision.
So what happens if two such instances happen at the same time?
There's two of us.
Okay.
There's two of us, Russell York and myself.
And
there's two of us.
Is there a contingency for three at the same time?
Yes, there is. We always have someone in there, either another vice president or one of our supervisors who's always in the room, just in case we go to three. I can tell you, in case it's the next question.
Yes.
In the last 2 or 3 years, it's only happened twice. That's it. We've never been on 3 replays at one time. We've had situations where we've had to jump, and then after we make a decision, we don't stay for the administration, put the ball on the 12, 1st and 10, whatever. But we have not had 3 other than 2 times.
So there's a line of succession plan.
Yes, there
going
is.
on right here.
Yes, there is.
In case it gets down to 3.
And then there's always you.
No, I'm around.
I know you're always on call.
Al, I'm always available.
I know
and
you
I'm
are.
sure Roger Goodell is too, if push comes to shove.
Next question.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live, or download The Rich Eisen Show app.